All right, well, it is Wednesday. That can mean a lot of things, but the most important thing is it means it's time for 1 million cups. Welcome, everybody. There we go. Thank you, thank you. And you guys are here kind of on a, who's here for the first time? First time ever? Nice, that's probably 30% of the room. So for those of you that have not been here before, just a quick rundown of what we do. Every week we have two presenters, two local startups, interesting businesses. We split the hour into two halves. Each of our presenters has 6 minutes to present formally up here with slides and things about themselves, and then it's 20 minutes of Q&A. So listen closely. It's a great educational opportunity, and think of great questions for our presenters today. You guys are also here for a kind of a special day. Today we launched 2 new cities. Cities 11 and 12, that would be our local areas of Lawrence and Columbia. So welcome Lawrence and Columbia to the 1 Million Cups team. We'll have a couple more next month, a little farther afield, but great to have those 2 on board. So a couple of little announcements. Let's see, we are always very thrilled to have the Kaufman facilities here to work in, so they treat us well. Please treat them well too. Take your coffee cups and all those things. Bin them when you're done with them so they don't have to clean up all the trash. So, I don't know. Is there anything else? Anything else I need to add? All right, that's it. Okay, so let's get on with the presentation. So, anybody do any gardening? A few of you. Yeah, cool. So, our first presenter is all about making, not gardening, but actual farming more efficient and more effective. So, please welcome Greg Garbos from Four Season Tools.
Thank you. Hello, hello. It's early, but I am so excited to be here. I have a lot of energy, and you are warned, so buckle your seatbelts. I am here today specifically to talk about skill-based service. I made a commitment many, many years ago to spend my life trying to use the talents that I have to make the most difference in the world that I can. That has manifested itself in a lot of different ways, so I'm quickly going to talk about my path to getting to where I am right now. But I used to do a lot of volunteering and found that only 12% of volunteers use their skills in volunteering, and that really, really frustrated me. So I wanted to start a triple bottom line, a for-profit company that does environmental and social good. I grew up in Mount Vernon, New Hampshire. I was so cute back then, I don't know what happened. But I grew up in this house right here. This is a passive solar house designed by my mom, built by my parents. We had 2 south-facing greenhouses. We had a homemade solar hot water system with a 1,000-gallon thermal mass in our basement. And this is how I thought all houses were built. It wasn't until I left college and saw the crap that's out there that I realized that some of this stuff is just really not being done correctly. My dad was a contract engineer for NASA. My mom was a minister, so I was born with a strong analytical mind and a desire to try to do as much good as I possibly could. I had the fortune of going to Duke University for both undergrad and grad school. While I was at Duke, I focused on still trying to figure out how to use engineering to help people. I got really involved with devices for people with disabilities. In fact, this automated swing for this girl with spastic quadriplegia who was 6 years old won a national engineering design competition. It happened to be sponsored by my wife's alma mater, University of Florida, which I take great pride in. I graduated from Duke in 4 years with my master's degree, so I had a lot of options open to me. I decided to go work for Ford because I was able to convince them in the recruiting process to give me 20% of my time to do skill-based service. So every Friday, I got Friday off to try to make a difference. So although I did fuel cell research, hybrid technologies also, I'm a super dork, by the way, super, super dork. I was also able to do things to try to help people. I got involved with trying to figure out how to adapt vehicles for people with disabilities. The average person with disabilities, they actually drive a minivan. That minivan costs on average about $135,000. For $75,000, we were able to get him into a pimp Lincoln Navigator. You press the button, the doors popped open. You press another button, the lift gate would go up. Another button, the wheelchair hoist would come out. Windshield wipers turned on automatically. They could drive it with their stumps. And we were rocking. We pimped that ride. But through that, the Shepherd Center is the largest catastrophic care hospital on the East Coast. And I was able to got introduced to some venture capitalists who I eventually went and worked for and who introduced me to the farmer whose system we now promote. Hallmark is what brought me to Kansas City, and Hallmark is also what brought me to 1 Million Cups. My wife is an Imagineer for Hallmark. She designs toys for a living. She's a toy maker, and she's beautiful, and I love her. But that's, I think one of the important parts about entrepreneurship is to really have supportive people around you. And I'm very, very fortunate to have who I have. We're such dorks. Engineering can be fun. That's our wedding cake. Ball bearings come up through the center of the cake. They get to the top, and they take 2 little tracks down. This is the day that I met Elliot Coleman and Barbara Damrosch, the two leading selling authors in farming and gardening, two incredible people. They farm out in Maine where the triangle is, way the heck up there. One of the things that's a misconception about agriculture is if you take our latitude and you go across, Bar Harbor, Maine is roughly Nice, France. And Europe is way ahead of us in all this game. So even though we think of the north as cold climates, I'm from New Hampshire, it snows there a lot more than it does here, it's still really not all that cold. With greenhouses, you can actually farm effectively all the way up to a latitude of about Anchorage, Alaska. They farm on 1.5 acres, and they generate $140,000 of revenue off of an acre and a half. Can we just give a round of applause for that, because that's cool. And they do it with these. They're hand tools. When petroleum hit agriculture, things dramatically changed. We started mechanization, and we started fertilization. We took petroleum, we made nitrogen, we put it in our soil and ruined our water supply and ruined a lot of our tillable land, and then we started putting it into tractors, and that completely changed everything. We promote a 1 to 5 acre, French-intensive, year-round farming system where you actually work for a living. This is my dork coming out. The straight line here is nothing. This is CO2 abatement. What do we do to keep carbon out of the atmosphere? Carbon's not the issue. Methane is the issue. When these ice fields melt up north, right, they're going to release massive methane fields, which are 22 times worse than carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is just a ticking bomb for methane. So what this chart shows is everything above the zero line is current and theoretical technology. Everything below the line is energy efficiency. So this big one right here is actually building insulation. The point of this chart is to say it's behavior, not technology. If we get energy efficiency better. So, big debate over climate change. Who gives a crap? Look at the two sides of the equation. If one side is wrong or the other side is wrong, boy, there are real consequences. If we come out of this with more energy efficient buildings, then everybody wins regardless of your political beliefs. That's also cool, by the way. Okay, farms. Every 20 years, USDA comes out with statistics. This is number of change in farms by scale. This is the small scale getting huge, and the 10,000 plus also getting as big, but this is by number of farms. The law of the disappearing center. Farming is going from that mid-scale out to the edges. Big farms make money for big business. Small scale farms make money for small farmers. Farming is a $1 billion industry. There are so many people out there in rural America doing amazing things. We need to figure out how to get that technology from the Mennonite and Amish guys in Missouri who are making it out to the rest of the country where everybody has it. That is a money maker. We can make money and help people in the process, and I think that that's cool. Vote with your dollars. For every dollar you spend, you cast a vote you want to have. What world has to exist that for $1 you can get meat, cheese, vegetables, condiments, and bread? That's insane. If I came to you and said, I will change the oil in your car for 12 cents, you wouldn't trust me. But you go to McDonald's every day, and I used to eat there more than I like to admit. Okay, money. We can make money doing this. This is our sales. In our first 6 weeks of existence, we sold over $100,000 of product. I was introduced to this farmer by venture capitalists. I didn't feel like we were getting treated really well. As soon as we made all this money, all these legal documents showed up, and we said, I'm sorry, we're not interested. And we've bootstrapped this thing with our own money ever since. It has been so liberating and so free. It's been incredibly hard, but it has been an absolutely amazing way to go through it. So not only is our revenue scaled, our 4th year we did $918,000. We were profitable in our 2nd year. Right now, year to date, we're up 34%. We've also dramatically expanded our staff. So I'm trying to show how we kind of added. There are a couple founders, we added this, now we've got architects and blah, blah, blah. The great leap forward was movable high tunnels. These structures, there's a lot of advantages. As long as you know that there's advantages to crops rotating, you can also know there's advantages to a greenhouse that rotates with those crops. Our big moneymaker is movable buildings. So we sell, our average building is $8,000 to $25,000. So here's an example of 3 movables. Here's a bunch of other pictures. This in the upper right shows how a single layer of plastic can move your climate 500 miles to the south, or 1.5 hardiness zones on a sunny day in a passive, unheated structure. That lower level can do the exact same thing. In Missouri, in an unheated building, we can get a Florida climate in an unheated building. That's absolutely amazing. We just got our patent, came in the mail yesterday. I'm very, very proud of that. I've got a couple more to catch up to my wife. We've gotten some good exposure in New York Times, Martha Stewart Living, some other folks, and this actually hasn't really helped us. We're in such a niche marketplace that none of these things has really been turned into sales for us. When we design farms, we try to find this balance between a heated structure where you put your energy in, and then 4 to 6 times the square footage in unheated movable buildings. So we got 4 buildings here. All of these buildings slide back and forth. Same farm in Illinois, heated building, three greenhouses that slide back and forth. This is Congresswoman Shelley Pingree farm on North Haven Island off the coast of Maine. She's one of the authors of the Farm Bill and has 6 of our structures. Same model, heated greenhouse where you start all your transplants, 4 unheated movable greenhouses. In January, we just finished a rooftop greenhouse of the largest rooftop farm in the country in Brooklyn. Very, very proud of that. We can also use our buildings to pasture animals and keep predators away from the air animals. We did the first solar-powered movable greenhouse, the largest movable greenhouse ever built, the first gutter-connected movable greenhouse. We've invented prefabricated panelized end walls that all click together and can go up in a couple hours. Removable end walls, so instead of just moving this over tomatoes or vegetables, we can actually move this greenhouse onto and off of berries and completely open up perennials to be part of this thing as well. This is like groundbreaking agriculture stuff. I know I'm like, not everybody is into this as much as I am, but this is like really, really cool. My greenhouse is radiant heating. I was able to keep my greenhouse above, when it's outdoor temperature of 18 degrees, for $2.50 of electricity a day. Keep it above freezing. We've got rainwater capture in our greenhouse, 1,600-gallon cistern with a bunch of different bells and whistles. We're actually on an urban farm just southeast of Kansas City. We do kitting and assembly. We're people that take a bunch of parts, we get them to people and add value in the process. We're a design build firm, and there was a big, big realization for me of the difference between sales and technical sales. We're a technical sales organization, and boy, is that different from a sales organization. So, hopefully I've expressed my interest and passion for this, and what kind of help are we looking for? I am not from Kansas City. I don't really know people here. I need executive level mentors. Our growth pattern is exploding, and I need help. I just need advice. I don't need money. I don't need any of that. I just need help. Entrepreneur legal support. How do we capitalize on our expertise? And then all the systems that it takes to take that widget from the rural environment and get it out there. These are some of the systems that we use for entrepreneurs. High-Rise is great. We did bring a bunch of, I'm going to wrap up, we did bring a bunch of microgreens with us, which we grow on our farm. This is what microgreens look like. We service some of the highest end restaurants in Kansas City. There's samples there, things for you to try. Microgreens are the most nutritious way to eat vegetables, and it's really neat to now be in a place where we have our own teaching and demonstration farm. These are all the restaurants you can get our greens from, and I just want to thank you guys so much for listening, putting up with my craziness, and I just think that what Kaufman is doing here, 1 million cups, when I started playing around with this in 2007, 2009, I really, really, really wish that this was a resource for me. I don't even really consider myself an entrepreneur anymore because I've been doing this for a while, but I just am so happy that this exists and so happy that you guys let me come and yell at you for a little while. Thank you guys so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg. All right, who's had enough coffee to actually ask Greg a question? Oh, somebody be bold.
We have a question in the back here.
Oh, this is just a quick one. I'm wondering, do you guys, have you explored Roots for Refugees, which is a urban farming community for immigrants in Kansas City, Kansas? I think they could really use this.
Yeah, there's an amazing organization called Cultivate Kansas City, and they're actually the first farm, Gibbs Road Farm in Kansas City, to use movable structures based on some of the literature that Elliott put out in the late 1980s. So they're really kind of on the pulse. We really focus on people who are trying to make a living doing this. And so we really focus a lot more on market farms and community gardens and some of those other things that aren't so revenue focused. Our products aren't cheap, but what's great about our products is someone can buy a greenhouse. The return on investment is so strong that if they do a good job in 12 to 18 months, that greenhouse can generate enough revenue for them to come back and buy another structure. Easiest sales is to existing customers.
Next question in the back here.
I just came back from East Hampton, home of Ina Garten. Everybody out there has a problem with their climate on Long Island and with deer, and I think they would love your greenhouses. I would encourage you to look there. Why don't you name the business after what you do? Like Four Season Greenhouses, because it sounds like you're selling shovels.
Sure. Well, 24% of our revenue year to date is actually from systems, tools, horticulture supplies. So we sell a whole suite of products that allow people to do four-season farming. Elliot Coleman, whose system we're modeling this off of, is Four Season Farm. So we're trying to play off of his brand with the naming of the company. And that's where Four Season Tools really came about. And a greenhouse is just one of many tools that we sell and promote to farms. I talk about greenhouses right now a lot because that's our breadwinner. I mean, we've got greenhouses in penitentiaries being used for rehabilitation. We've got them at nonprofits, universities. We've got them at farm-to-table programs. Schools having, feeding themselves in their own cafeterias. There's so much opportunity. But when we get a client, we try to own that client. So you can come to us for seeds, you can come to us for soil, you can come to us for your tools, and we really have a much more expansive offering than what I've talked about today.
Question for you over here on your left, Greg.
Yes?
Real simple. Where are your kits manufactured?
So we work very closely with the Amish and Mennonite communities. We have 7 different Amish or Mennonite fabricators in Missouri, Iowa, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Kansas. And it's been unbelievable to take a high technology thinking and to work with someone with a really practical, simple mind. The co-founder of my company was actually Elliot Coleman's former farm manager. So I do a really good job bringing the kind of engineering and the problem solving to the table. And as a farmer, he's an incredibly practical person. One of the smartest people I've met in this entire industry is a guy named Daniel Yoder. He's an Amishman out of Ohio, no formal education past the 6th grade. And we can all learn so much from people who look at things simpler than we are. I don't believe that more technology is the answer. I believe smarter thinking, more elegant solutions, simpler solutions. We promote a style of farming that we did very, very successfully for thousands of years. Personally, when I use my iPhone, I'm an engineer. I want to throw this thing in the trash can all the time. It makes me feel stupid, right? I love Microsoft Outlook. I love Excel. I love these more complicated things. When we dumb it down so much that you control your experience, I find that incredibly frustrating. Right? So I have to find that balance between someone who's kind of geared that way versus the ability to work with such incredibly competent people. Just to throw this out real quick, there's a gentleman here, I'm really happy he came. Steve Robbins, if you can put up your hand real quick. Steve Robbins is here with the Willoughby Design Group. Ann Willoughby and Steve were 2 people that were so incredibly nice to me in getting this going. If you're not familiar with the Willoughby Design Group, I absolutely suggest you figure out who they are. They specialize in brand identity and graphic design. Their clients are people like the UN, Nike, the branding for Einstein Bagels, Sheridan, incredible people. So if you have anything where your brand is a really integral part to what you're doing, I absolutely recommend trying to track down Steve. And I think that's one of the neat things about a triple bottom line company is you find people that are passionate about what it is that you do who will work and help you, and maybe not necessarily in that monetary way. Almost everybody that works for me works at a reduced rate versus what they could do somewhere else. And the reason that they do it is because of the goodwill that we're doing. Almost every company that does what I do is a nonprofit organization. And the fact that we're doing it as a for-profit and we're making money proves the fact that you can actually do good, help people, and actually do it in a profitable way.
Next question on the back wall.
Fantastic presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
My first question, I have 2 quick questions. My first question is, on that 1.5 acres, what's the profit margin on that 140 or 150 grows? And then my second question is, what do you envision as your end goal here? Is this selling the kits and consulting, or is there a possibility, or are you looking to potentially franchise in mid-markets and above?
So I'll start with the second question first. The goal for us is to own the company and be successful. We really, really love what we're doing. I consider Four Season Tools, and whatever the name is, as an umbrella to create cool things that make a difference. I can imagine getting into renewable installations. I'm really into building insulation and energy audits and all that kind of stuff. And I see that this thing is kind of taking a mind of its own. And one of the best moments of being an entrepreneur is when you make enough money that you can hire people to do your job, right? And we're in that phase right now where we're struggling to pull that off, and I get really, really frustrated. And there's a lot of modesty that has to come in when you watch someone trying to do your job and struggle through it. So we really are trying to, I think we can do this for a long time. I really, really enjoy it. We're just scratching the surface. The amount of innovation we brought to this industry in a very, very short amount of time is absolutely mind-blowing. And I just got so excited I forgot your first question. Profit margin. What's that? Oh, it's about $25,000. So part of farming is not necessarily, VCs aren't investing in small-scale farms. It's not happening. So there's other things. I know school teachers who are the farmer right? And there's a lot of that I see. So, but part of it has to equate into the quality of life. I have an 11-month-old baby, and I am home every day with my baby. Even though I'm not the primary caretaker during business hours, that's an amazing part of it. You also get the savings that you're not spending any money on food. You're eating hyper healthy, right? So all these farmers that I know that have been doing this for a long time are incredibly healthy individuals. So to be a farmer, it's a commitment, right? And I think I really enjoy being from rural America, trying to support rural America and the hardworking people that are out there. Now, on the flip side, I know another farmer named Eric Franks outside of Philadelphia, and he is crushing it, right? I mean, 80% margin on $120,000. I mean, he's putting out $14,000 out of a 3,000 square foot greenhouse a month. It's absolutely unbelievable what he's doing. He works his tail off, but there are high-end stuff. So when we do microgreens, out of 760 square feet in our greenhouse, which is about a 4-car garage, we actually put out, right now we're at a pace, we're putting about $6,000 of product a month. And Ashley's here, she's in the back over here, she helped with all these microgreens. She's been an absolute incredible resource to us. She's actually a chemistry grad without a farming background, and we taught her farming as a system, and she's completely excelled into that space. And I just think it's so neat to see how this technology and how the systems, if you have the right tools and the right equipment and a good plan to start with, this really does make economic sense, or it can. I've also seen farms go bankrupt. Yes.
Question for you right here in the back.
I have two questions. One, can you talk about your competition and any barriers to entry that you faced? And then second, have you ever considered, since you're kind of on the do-gooder side of things, a revenue sharing model where you would provide farms with your expertise in exchange for a portion of their revenue share?
Yeah, the closest we come to revenue share is I actually think there's a guy that we sold some greenhouses to a couple years ago who it looks like it might work out that in the winter, his greenhouses are more geared towards higher temperatures because he heats with propane as opposed to radiant heating. So it's a really interesting business model to sell people equipment and then buy the produce from them. So I would think that kind of model makes sense, working with a really competent person. I don't know why I answered the second question last. I should just do it the other way around. What was the first question? I'm sorry. So definitely first mover advantage, no doubt about it. Elliot first started writing about movable greenhouses in 1986, and no one took it seriously. When we started this company, we thought we were going to do farm tools, and that's where the name really came from. And then when we were looking at a project where we needed a $250,000 budget, and like 100,000 was greenhouses, 15,000 was tools, and 100 was stuff we couldn't touch, like infrastructure and grading and whatever. And we just said, wait a second, why do we want this tiny little bit of tools? We want to get at the wedge of the greenhouses, right? So I'm not sure I exactly answered your question, but. Yeah, so I think with the competition, the majority of greenhouse companies make big time nursery style greenhouses, the type of people that would slap something onto the edge of a Home Depot, right? And for a long time, the entire industry was really ignoring these high tunnels or these lower end stuff. Now the USDA through their NRCS program and now is putting about $138 million a year into high tunnels. So there's all this grant money that's available. The reality is the pie is exploding so insane that there's enough room for everybody. So our largest competitor, we butt heads with them a little bit. I'm sure they take a little bit of business from them. I'm sure we take a little bit of business, one way or the other. That patent is huge. We patented a concept. We own an entire concept around how to move agriculture buildings till 2030, right? And that was a really, really huge victory for us. So some of the big guys are getting into it. We are going to have to write a cease and desist letter to one company who we think is infringing on the patent. The only reason we're doing that is so we can get XXX the damages if it ever does get litigated. So I think the reality is the pie is so big, the industry is exploding so much. Michael Pollan was just here. He wrote Omnivore's Dilemma. He was behind Food Inc. He presented recently, and he was asked about four-season food, what has to happen to pull off a four-seasons thing, and he says structures are going to be a gigantic part of that. Not only the structures for year-round farmers markets, so us as consumers have access to that food, but he also said that that greenhouses were going to be a gigantic part of us creating a four-season policy. So I didn't go to Michael Pollan to validate my life's work, but it sure didn't hurt,
Next question to your left in the back.
I'm a misplaced farmer, so I totally appreciate what you're doing and am happy to see what you're doing and the products that you're creating. That being said, I'm also an avid gardener. Do you have these available for small city lots?
Yeah, Kansas City has a restriction. You can't have a greenhouse over 200 square feet without a permit. We've kind of tinkered with a 160 square foot greenhouse. It's just really hard as someone who's growing a business as fast as we are to focus on like $1,000, $1,500 greenhouses when we're pretty successfully selling $8,000 to $25,000 greenhouses. The smallest model that we really offer on a regular basis would be a 16 by 24, which is slightly above that Kansas City limit. Although I own an urban farm, I'm not sure urban farms are really the exact answer because there's policy concerns, building code restrictions. There's land is more expensive, labor is more expensive. So I've come to think of the urban farm as the classroom for agriculture. So people like me can have people come work at the farm, come do all these different things, and there can be all this learning. I give multiple tours a week, right? I think that's the role of the urban farm. As far as the garden is concerned, there's a lot of lower end techniques you can do. Low tunnels would be great for $150, right? You can get massive season extension on things like spinach and overwintering onions and, you know, late carrots and early carrots and things like that. So I would, you know, you can go to Costco and for, geez, like $300, you can buy a fully polycarbonate 4x8, you know, greenhouse or something that's kind of a piece of turd, but, you know, would work well and at that scale. You know, we're just a total scale above that. We do hand tools. We do some walk-behind tractor stuff. So Mike's farm that I showed you in Chicago, he was really effective with that 1 acre scale. When they went to that 5 acre expansion, they bought a walk-behind tractor from Italy called a BCS, and it actually has a PTO, so it's kind of like a super fancy lawnmower where you can switch all your attachments, like a Swiss Army knife. And they were able very successfully to kind of get rid of that French intensive style, go to row cropping with a BCS, get all the way up to about 5 acres. Then you just have a big gap, and you need to be at about 25 to 35 acres or bigger to really pull off organic farming. So we might be able to hit $80,000 to $90,000 an acre at that 1 to 5 acre scale, but once you get to that 25 to 36 acre scale, those guys are really successfully making between $40,000 to $60,000 of revenue on an acre with a lot less work because they're using tractors. There's an incredible farmer on the Vermont-Canadian border named Pete Johnson. He's got 36 acres. There's no population up there at all, and he says he could sell 10 times more than he could grow if he just had the land and water to be able to do it. So there is this weird gap that, you know, gardener's one thing, 1 to 5 acres another thing. Then there's I think kind of a gap where the economy of scale doesn't kick in until that 25 to 36 acres.
All right, Greg, we've got time for 2 more questions if the answers are brief. One right here.
Hi, I actually know the Colemans. I was wondering if you ever did any work with real true heirloom seeds and if you provide those, and also if you ever do any work with probiotics and biochar.
Yes. Next question. Yes, my ag specialist, Mike Bollinger, he's located in Decorah, Iowa, where Seed Savers Exchange is, the largest nonprofit seed bank in North America. That family actually, Aaron Wheatley just started his own seed company as well. That'd be a great thing for that. Biochar is interesting. Biochar is taking charcoal or ashes and allowing those little pockets inside of that charcoal to be kind of like a house for microbiological life. So absolutely, soil is alive. And one of the things that Elliot gets really frustrated with is his organic matter. So if you go to the University of Maine, and by the way, not a single professor from the University of Maine has ever been to his farm, which shows you how messed up our university agriculture training is in this country. But they stop their soil testing. They say after your organic matter gets above 4, that thing shouldn't be able to grow. Elliot's organic matter is 10.5. So we're talking about growing in a way that just doesn't make sense to conventional agriculture. So if you've been growing for multiple years organically, successfully, you might have, you know, really, really healthy plants. You might till in new ground, and all of a sudden that new ground, there's pests and there's bugs, right? So how do you not use chemicals? You treat your plants well. You treat your plants well. I mean, like, we promote a plant-positive approach. We try the best we can to farm the way that nature intends us to farm.
I should have stopped you at yes. One last question.
Next question is to your left here.
Hi, I get the value behind greenhouses. I thought that was fantastic and everything, especially how you can, you know, create a Florida-like environment here in Missouri. You glossed over a lot of slides there. Could you elaborate a little bit on specifically the value of having a movable greenhouse?
Yeah, there's actually a full sheet out there that tells all the advantages of it. It's advanced crop rotation. If you have 3 plots, you can have tomatoes in all 3 plots. If your tomatoes are growing all season, the math doesn't make sense to rip out tomatoes to plant winter spinach. Winter spinach doesn't like germinating in a hot greenhouse environment. So what you can do is, September around here, you plant spinach next door. Your greenhouse and your spinach run side by side. And then when your tomatoes are done, you rip them out, slide the greenhouse over the spinach just in time where that spinach wouldn't make it through the season without that greenhouse, right? And then, and there's some other idiosyncrasies to that, but there's a whole sheet out there that specifically talks about that. It really changes the game. I mean, Elliot calls it the great leap forward. It really does change the game. Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I am going to leave you with a quote.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Good. Really good stuff. Good.
Hi, everybody. Just a couple of announcements for the crowd this week. First of all, I know every week we talk about our new partner, Dream Big America, which is this wonderful radio show, happens every Tuesday morning, and they feature different startups from across the country. Kansas City has had a great showing so far, and another one of our very own startups here that are homegrown, Trelly is competing this week, so don't forget to get online at vote.dreambig.us. Next, a quick announcement from Kelly about Startup Grind.
Hey guys, I'm Kelly Tomlinson. I'm a co-organizer of Startup Grind, which is a movement that started in Silicon Valley and now it's spread across the globe with 50 different cities. Its goal is to educate, inspire, and connect entrepreneurs. And so basically the way that they do that is they do kind of a really intimate fireside chat style. They take a local entrepreneur and bring them in and have a conversation about successes and failures and basically the grind that they went to get to where they are. So Kansas City has had it since the new year, and tonight we have Maria Myers of KC SourceLink. And I'm actually really excited about this because she's gonna unveil quite a few resources that a lot of us don't know about. And kind of to tap onto what Greg said, there's a lot of like free legal resources, business development that go through KC SourceLink and UMKC. And so I'm excited for her to tell us about that. So it's tonight at 6 p.m. at Crema Lab on 18th and Central, which is in the Crossroads. There will be drinks and a little bit of food. And you can sign up through Eventbrite, and you can get that link through our Twitter account, which is at StartupGrandKC.
I almost dropped the microphone, that would have been bad. Then a final announcement. I know you guys remember when the Code for America Fellows were in town. They did some really great work, and they've now developed a demo of their app, which they're going to be demonstrating in the Plaza Room after 1 Million Cups. So please make sure and check that out if you have an interest. So finally, I'd like to introduce our second presenters of the day, and that's the original BedBug, not that BedBug, a different kind. But Lori Allen is here to tell us a little bit about her new product and her new startup. So thanks, Lori.
Okay, I'm not sure if this mic is on. Yes, it is. Good. Thank you, 1 Million Cups, for allowing me to speak today, for allowing other entrepreneurs to speak and share the story with you. I know Greg, before he started talking, he said, buckle your seatbelts. You can unbuckle them now. It's going to be way more relaxed. I don't know how many of you had to deal with leaving a small child before you came here this morning, but if you did, then perhaps this scene looks familiar to you. Well, that was my world when my kids were little, and I can tell you that it didn't matter how long I was going to be gone. It was always stressful for me and for them. And it seemed that every time I had to travel, my kids were ready for bed, they're trying to call me, I am sitting in some convention center looking at my watch and missing them. So I waited for years for a product that could deliver hugs and personal messages when I couldn't be there. I'm Lori Allen, and I'm with the Third Life, and we're a company in Overland Park that focuses on making products that keep families together even when they have to be apart. We're introducing our first product, the original BedBug. I didn't set out to create a children's product company. I set out to solve a problem that I had as a parent, and I came up with a solution that I thought other parents might appreciate. So let me introduce you to the original BedBug. While there are other recordables on the market, none of them offer what the original BedBug does. As you can see, it's a high-quality plush toy. It's very huggable, and it has little satin feet. If you have kids, you know how much kids just love to feel the satin feet. On 3 of the legs are embroidered symbols for messages. So there's a sun, a moon, and a storybook. Each of these are 20-second messages, and this one is a full 3 minutes, so very rare in the industry. So you can change these messages as many times as you want and to fit the situation. Okay, now, the path I took to get from idea to holding this in front of you was a long one. Briefly, my background is that I have a degree in communications and business, and I was a sales account executive for United Airlines. And most importantly, I was a mom. but I do not have a background in toy manufacturing. So, since I can't possibly share my entire experience with you in the 6 minutes that I'm allotted, unless of course I talk as fast as Greg did, then I'm just gonna jump to some of the highlights. So I took a prototype of my idea to a company in California. I did a little research and found that they would be a great match for my product. I had the idea, I didn't have the background in toy manufacturing, so I thought, maybe I'll partner with a company. So I presented my product to them, they loved it, it was great. I flew home from California on cloud 9. Then when I returned, the woman that I met with, who was fantastic, and she had 25 years of experience in the industry, said, we loved it, but we have new owners, and they're not gonna do toy manufacturing, they're just gonna do distribution. So when I learned that, I hired her as a consultant to help me with the manufacturing process. That was a highlight, I can tell you. The other highlights for me were creating the website. We used CrowdSpring, and these are some of the samples. It was so exciting every day to get up and see what new designs they had, and we ended up with this design for our website. And it's very nice when you are married to an IT professional who runs Allen's Consulting, good job, honey, who can take the designs that we got from CrowdSpring and turn them into a website. Then what worked well for me, I know that when I was asked, or when we talked about coming up here to speak, one of the things they wanted me to share is what worked for me and what didn't work. So what worked for me, I took as many classes as I possibly could, and there are so many available. ECJC has a great lunch course that they offer. There is a small business development facility in both UMKC and Johnson County Community College. I joined Central Exchange. I tried to participate in a lot of networking opportunities, including Facebook, Mompreneur. And it was in working with other entrepreneurs and talking with investors that one person will introduce you to another person who thinks this person can help you. And I'm actually working with a former toy company executive who is advising us on next steps and future products. So that's pretty exciting. Hiring what you're not good at. So we had an accounting firm, we had an IP attorney, we had, IT help, we had a lot of people, but it wasn't until I hired a bookkeeper that I was really able to sleep at night, because that is the thing I hate the most. So when you're an entrepreneur and you have to wear every hat, from sales to marketing to product development to anything that you can think of, it's helpful if you take what you don't like to do and hire it out. I mentioned earlier that we used CrowdSpring to help develop our website, and that was such a great experience. If you need anything, a brochure created, that is a fantastic resource. You're gonna love it. Internet freelancers, we take advantage of this all the time, and in fact, the very first prototype that I had created was done on Elance. And some of the struggles, so when you don't have a lot of in-house people working for you, and you contract a lot out, you're at the mercy of their schedules. And if you've ever dealt with this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It took us at least 6 months longer to get the first product in hand than if we would have had our own in-house people. So sometimes it can be a long process waiting to hear back from, say, the box designer or the manufacturer. Taxes and regulations is pretty self-explanatory. Shipping and fulfillment. I think we're going to solve this problem eventually by getting a fulfillment company. Right now, everything that's shipped comes from China to Los Angeles, then it goes from Los Angeles to Kansas City, and then it gets shipped to the consumer. To have a fulfillment company in Los Angeles is actually what we're going to probably end up moving to once we reach the scale that will justify that, and then we can ship out to the customer. Reaching the audience at a low cost, that is obviously everyone's concern. We have a product, we know there are people out there who want to buy it. How can we best reach them? How can we be most efficient in that whole process? And finally, there's money. You know, a lot of people aren't comfortable giving up their salary to start developing a company. They're not comfortable investing a lot of their own money with putting it into a company for their product. I happen to be one of those people, so money was a stressful thing for me. And then I'm going to end on an exciting note. We really have a limited number of BedBugs right at this time, and they're to be used for initial sales, testing, marketing, and we've sent a few out to bloggers. There are lots of mom blogs out there, military bloggers, and so we got our official first review, and it's very exciting. If you check out our website or our Twitter feed or any of our things, you'll see a link to the blog review. But it was very exciting, and she had great things to say about the product. As you can see, she included pictures of her son using the product, and I don't even know this person, so this is very exciting. And thank you for coming to 1 Million Cups. Any questions?
Questions for Lori? Yep.
I'm a mom of 2 really little girls, and
Okay.
so my question to you is, we've got a recordable book from Hallmark, and it's a Christmas story, and my daughter would play it, and then she would erase the recording, and then it would only have a small 2-second, blip. So I guess my question is, can the toddler erase it?
So it's very difficult to do,
Okay.
and we made it specifically that way. We designed it so they would have to open it, they'd have to slide the cover up, they'd have to know what they were doing. So no, it would be very difficult for them to do that, but easy for you.
Yeah.
The nice thing also is that if they take it to bed, oops, sorry about that. It doesn't play unless they want it to. And as she said in her blog, it took him just a couple tries for her to show him how to turn it on, and then he could do it. And it's kind of nice because like I said, there's a storybook feature, and that was one of the things that my daughter used to always say to me, "Mom, I just wish you were here to read me my story." And so it's nice to be able to provide that.
Question in the middle here.
What's the technology inside? Why is it only limited to 3 messages? Can it be expanded?
3 messages is, I mean, I don't know how many you could possibly want. So there's a morning message, a goodnight message, and then a long story. There's you could fill the other legs with technology, but then you would add expense. So yes, you could add more. We could add more, I should say, as a company, but 3 seemed to be a perfect amount.
Next question in the middle.
How much does it cost you to manufacture it, and how much are you going to sell it for?
The retail price is $29.99, and the cost to manufacture is less than that, and a confidential number.
Question for you right over here.
So do you have to pre-record these messages, or can you be like in Los Angeles and do a wireless message to the child?
Okay, so we specifically designed the original BedBug to be capable of going anywhere, anytime. No technology required, no skills required, because we knew grandparents would want this toy as well. Now, we are working with some folks in the military, and we're going to create a special BedBug just for them, which has a higher technology capabilities, different. It's going to be slightly different, and it will enable I don't want to give away too much information because this is the one that's covered under the provisional patent and trademarks and all that. But it will have those capabilities. So we'll offer different products geared toward different customers.
Question here in the back.
Hey, so tell us about your plans for growing this business. What are you going to do next?
So this is a small business, and we're growing slowly as we get orders in, and we'll order. Our next order is 2,500 bed bugs, and those should be in by October. So by the end of the year, we hope to have the new product specifically designed for the military, and then we have also some other side things, a storybook, other things that you're just going to have to check the website and see what other offerings that we have available.
Live stream viewer Cameron C. wants to know where you can buy these.
So right now they're available on the website, mybedbug.com. And I know there are 2 stores in Kansas City that I've already talked to that want the product, but I'm going to wait for in-store. The product is also available at the Mommy Shop at 149th and Metcalf. But right now, the other retail locations are probably not going to go in until October. So right now, they're available online, and they're available at the Mommy Shop in Overland Park.
Next question in the middle.
I must be the queen of trying to rename companies. Why don't you name it HugBug instead of something that's a horrible, expensive thing in the minds of the purchasers? And I've bought stuff on Amazon that's been fulfilled from Hong Kong. So maybe you could look at, there's nothing special about LA anymore. Maybe you just have it shipped from there.
Right, that's true. And thank you for asking that question. I was actually expecting you. I've seen you before here. The BedBug is a name that when you leave here, you won't forget. And I think you can quickly forget any negative connotation that you have and just walk away with a good feeling about the BedBug. So really, it is to be top of mind. HugBug, I'm not sure if you would remember. So I'm sure you'll all remember mybedbugs.com.
Next question to your left.
So I'm a little past the kids' bedbug age era, but when my kids were that age, there was a lot of drooling and hugging and sucking, and so just how launderable is this device or cleanable, or will it end up reeking like last week's diapers?
Because of the electronic component, it is surface washable only. So any of the components that don't have the technology can really be scrubbed up. I would not put this in the washing machine. Even if you found a way to detach the recordable unit inside, you still got the wires that are built in. So it is surface washable.
Question for you here in the back.
As a local business owner myself, who's recently this year made the decision to only work with businesses in Kansas City, can you speak to why you wouldn't want to do distribution here in the middle of the United States with innumerable amount of shipping yards and people that need jobs and everything else, as well as the manufacturing?
I love that idea. I mean, I absolutely love it. And if I could find a way that it would work best financially and I could support the community, that is exactly what I would do. So if you have solutions for fulfillment, I have not reached that stage yet. I am currently just fulfilling all the orders within our company, but I would love to review the options there as well.
Walk us through the design process a little bit. How did you come up with the ladybug and all of that? What was that process like?
Okay, so I developed this in my head, and to get it from in my head to, we don't have that slide, do we? We cut it out because it was too long, but it was great. We contacted a gentleman on Elance who said, yes, sure, I can create the prototype for you. And we ended up with something that vaguely resembled the product that it is today. It was sewn by a local seamstress, and it was very furry and very misshapen, and I was actually grateful for it because I had something. I mean, it seems relatively easy. I sew myself. I thought, oh, I'll just sew it together. No. We had the design created by someone on the Elance in patterns and creating the whole thing, and then again, a seamstress in Kansas City sewed the original one, and then we ended up sending it to China. And I was hoping someone would say, can't you manufacture in the United States? And I will tell you that if you know of anyone who can produce this product in the US, and I don't care about cost, I just mean producing a plush toy with an electronic capabilities in the United States, please see me. Because this, I was only able to produce in China. And they produced many prototypes before we settled on this one.
More questions? God, you guys are a difficult audience today. Nobody wants to ask questions. Here we go.
Too bad about the manufacturing in China, because when you think about like Chinese, they want U.S. products, U.S.-made products. So it would be so great to have that produced here in the United States too.
Yeah, it would be so much easier for communication purposes, for product distribution. I mean, it would be great for me.
I'm actually just wondering, how long did that iteration process go of the multiple prototypes, especially with the time differences and distance
Right, time
and things
differences.
like that?
It always took 6 times longer than I wanted it to. It was the whole process probably a couple years. I know someone has given me the idea, well, why don't you have the boxes created here and the BedBugs created in China and just shipped lump, and then have a fulfillment company here in the United States put together the box. And that is one thing that we're looking at. It was important to me to have a consumer or an environmentally friendly box. And we also partnered with 1% for the Planet. So this box is made from recycled products. It's used very little. Like there's no plastic window. It's all recyclable. I think, go ahead.
A question for you here in the back.
Okay.
Since the product is made in China, what dyes or types of chemicals are going into the materials? If my kids are going to be putting their mouths on that, what guarantees can you give me that there isn't anything that China is not overseeing or not regulating that's going to protect my child?
So there are 3 states that I had to get licensed and that send samples and have product testing done here in the United States. And then it also had to be, the components had to be product tested. There's a lot of testing, especially with the electronics and the fabrics. That has to be done, and that has been done and is tested.
Next question, next question in the back.
Lori, are you a home-based business?
Yes, I am.
You are. Are you looking to move at some point to an office?
At some point, yes. We hope to grow, to move. Do you have office space or something?
Well, yeah, I'm working on a co-working space, but you're in Overland Park. Where would you want to go to?
My husband said Italy.
Italy. Okay.
No, I don't know. It would have to be, there'd have to be some reasons for economic reasons and obviously proximity reasons for where we look. I wanted to end with this question. Yeah? Oh, you have another one? Okay.
Tell me, what were some of the challenges of interfacing with Chinese manufacturing? How do you keep control? And
Thank goodness. Like I said, I hired the consultant who's been in the industry for 25 years. She knew exactly which manufacturer to go to right from the start. I would not have known to do that. This is also very high quality. I've heard horror stories of they'll send you your samples, it's very high quality, and then your order comes in and there's all kinds of shortcuts that were taken and it doesn't look like the product that was the sample. I have had 0 problems with manufacturing. The only difficulty comes in delays or delays in communication.
Question for you right here.
Okay.
Equal opportunity question. Can fathers' voices be recorded as well?
Of course, of course. Now, I'm a mom, and so typically we've identified working moms as one of our target customers, but our target customers are military, our target customers are grandparents, our target customers are any parent, so pretty much that's all of you. Gifts is another thing. If you can't use it yourself, they make great gifts.
So I have a question for you over to your right here. As you developed the product and you had to establish what your market would actually be, of course you're a mom, so you know that there's a market for you, but what type of steps did you do to validate your market research of who would be the end users or buyers of your product?
I think this answers your question, but we created a mom board of moms around the country because I wanted to get a feel for all of the different areas in the United States and how they would use the toy. I wanted feedback from them, and I wanted eventually, I mean, right now, the mom board gets about BedBug, uses the BedBug on a regular basis, gives me feedback on that. Also, we communicate with them every week as to what new products we're working on, what we're developing, situations that we have, and they provide feedback for us as we go along. So we get input from around the country from moms that are using the product.
All right, Lori.
Okay. Do
I
I
think,
get to?
well, wait.
Oh.
Don't rush off the stage.
Okay.
So we like to ask the question, what can we, as a community, we've got 250-ish here today, do for you to help get the word out about BedBug and get BedBugs in all beds, all
Okay.
children's beds across the country?
Okay, well, obviously you could go out on mybedbug.com and buy a BedBug today. And most importantly, give me some feedback on the product, because I'd love to make product improvements, packaging improvements, improvements on the experience. Obviously, all the social media, like our Facebook page, follow @OriginalBedBug, and post about this experience, about the BedBug, on your Facebook page. And then specifically, I think we've already talked about this, but if you have any ideas about, I know it says LA fulfillment contacts, but fulfillment ideas on shipping the product, and then also bloggers and influential moms and dads that would like to review the product, that would be great.
Well, I know I'm going to get one for my niece, Molly. So, all right. Thank you. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you. Thank you, 1 Million Cups. Appreciate it.
All right. That's 1 Million Cups for today. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for coming.